Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you open your mouth, the world decides whether to take you seriously or to forget you. Respect isn't given, it's triggered. It happens in seconds, before your title, before your reputation, before your credentials. It's in the words you choose, the tone you hold, the presence you project. Because 5 simple phrases, spoken with control, confidence, and clarity, can shift how every person sees you. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to use them to command respect the instant you speak. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you command. And commanding respect isn't about intimidation or dominance, it's about presence, precision, and power in how you communicate. The truth is, most people lose respect not because they aren't capable or smart, but because they don't realize the impact of their words. Every phrase you speak either builds your credibility or chips away at it. The right words don't just make people listen, they make them take you seriously. There are 5 phrases that, when spoken with intention, instantly command respect, not because they're magic, but because they reflect control, self-awareness, and strength. The first phrase is, "I don't know, but I'll find out." Too many people believe that admitting they don't know something makes them look weak. They scramble for answers, try to bluff their way through, or throw jargon at the problem. But people who truly command respect understand that pretending is the real weakness. The moment you can look someone in the eye and say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," you demonstrate 2 powerful things: honesty and capability. You're not afraid to be transparent, and you're confident enough in yourself to bridge the gap with action. When you follow that up with results, when you actually do find out, you show integrity. Respect doesn't come from perfection. It comes from authenticity and reliability. People don't need you to know everything. They need to know they can trust you to tell the truth. The second phrase is, "I hear you." Simple, but often overlooked. In a world where everyone wants to speak, few people truly listen. When tensions rise, when emotions flare, the person who can calmly say, "I hear you," wields incredible influence. It doesn't mean you agree, it means you've acknowledged the other person's reality. And acknowledgement is powerful. It de-escalates conflict, diffuses ego, and builds connection. When someone feels heard, they stop fighting for attention and start engaging in cooperation. "I hear you" is not submission, it's strategy. It centers you in control of the conversation. It tells the other person that you are composed, present, and grounded enough to hold space for their perspective. Respect flows toward calm energy. The one who listens the most controls the dialogue. The third phrase is, "That doesn't work for me." Boundaries define strength. Without them, you invite chaos, disrespect, and manipulation. Many people say yes to things that compromise their values or energy, thinking it will earn them favor, but it only earns them exhaustion. The phrase, "That doesn't work for me," is a verbal line in the sand. It's assertive without being aggressive. You don't have to justify, explain, or apologize. The power lies in its simplicity. You reclaim your time, your priorities, and your peace. People who command respect don't over-explain their decisions. They make them with clarity and conviction. Saying, "That doesn't work for me," signals that you value your boundaries, and people value what you value. If you treat your time and energy as precious, others will too. If you don't, they won't. The fourth phrase is, "Let's take a step back." This is the phrase of the strategist, not the reactor. When situations become heated, when teams spiral into emotion or chaos, this phrase resets the tone. "Let's take a step back" reframes the problem from reaction to reflection. It signals leadership. You're not feeding the fire, you're controlling the temperature. When you use this phrase, you demonstrate composure under pressure, one of the most respected traits in any environment. People trust those who can stay calm when everyone else is losing their footing. It's the verbal equivalent of straightening your shoulders and taking a breath in the middle of a storm. You're saying, "I'm not lost in the noise. I see the bigger picture." And the moment you do that, you elevate yourself above the chaos. Respect gravitates toward composure like metal to a magnet. The fifth phrase is, "Here's what I need from you." Too often we hint, suggest, or hope people will read our minds. But clarity commands respect. Ambiguity invites frustration. This phrase, direct, calm, and focused, creates alignment. It shows you know what you want, you're not afraid to ask for it, and you're willing to lead with precision. It eliminates guesswork. When you say, "Here's what I need from you," you project confidence and structure. You give people a clear path forward. That kind of direction earns trust, and trust fuels respect. In every interaction, whether it's leading a team, negotiating, or setting expectations, clarity is strength. People can't meet your standards if you never communicate them. And when you do, you establish yourself as someone who operates from purpose, not emotion. Each of these phrases, "I don't know, but I'll find out," "I hear you," "That doesn't work for me," "Let's take a step back," "Here's what I need from you," is more than a set of words. They are expressions of inner authority. They work because they reflect who you are when you say them, grounded, confident, and in control of your energy. They show that you don't need to raise your voice to make a point, you don't need to dominate to lead, and you don't need approval to stand firm. Commanding respect starts long before you speak. It starts in how you carry yourself, how you breathe before you answer, and how you decide what deserves your attention. These phrases are tools, but tools only work in the hands of someone who wields them with intention. When you say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," mean it. When you say, "I hear you," actually listen. When you say, "That doesn't work for me," stand behind it without wavering. When you say, "Let's take a step back," do it with clarity, not condescension. When you say, "Here's what I need from you," know exactly why you're asking. Respect isn't commanded through arrogance, it's earned through mastery of self. And mastery of self begins with mastering your language. Your words are extensions of your mindset. They reveal how you think, how you feel, and how you lead. The people who earn instant respect don't have to prove themselves in every room they walk into. They simply show up with presence. Their words carry weight because they speak from intention, not insecurity. Every phrase is deliberate, every silence purposeful. Most people speak to be heard. Few speak to be remembered. The difference lies in restraint and clarity. When you remove the filler, the the maybe, the I think, you remove doubt. You become someone who speaks with precision. When you stop apologizing for existing, phrases like, "sorry, but," or "I don't want to bother you, but," you start taking up space unapologetically. Respect comes from people sensing that you know who you are, that you don't seek validation, that your value isn't up for negotiation. And here's the truth. Respect doesn't always mean being liked. Sometimes it means standing your ground when others disagree. Sometimes it means making decisions that don't please everyone. But people may not always like you, and they will still respect you, because consistency, integrity, and strength are magnetic. The right words, spoken from the right place, cut through noise. They create gravity. So speak less to impress and more to express authority. Use your voice with precision. Don't fill silence out of discomfort. Own it. Don't over-explain. State, pause, and let your words land. People who command respect don't chase attention. They draw it naturally through clarity, confidence, and calm. The next time you walk into a room, remind yourself, "I don't need to prove my worth. I simply need to express it through how I communicate." When you master your words, you master the way the world responds to you. But the truth most people avoid is that commanding respect requires constant awareness. It's not something you do once, it's something you embody daily. Every conversation, every response, every silence builds or breaks your credibility. You're always communicating something, even when you're not speaking. The way you hold your gaze, the way you enter a room, the way you respond to pressure, all of it tells people whether to take you seriously. The words we've talked about work because they are built on presence. Presence is what amplifies every phrase you speak. Without presence, words are just noise. Presence is the energy you carry that says, "I'm in control of myself." It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. It's quiet confidence, the kind that makes people stop scrolling, stop talking, stop moving for a moment because they sense something different. You don't get that presence by pretending. You get it by aligning your words with your actions, your tone with your intention. That's where the real respect is built, through consistency. Anyone can sound confident for a few minutes, but if your behavior contradicts your words, you lose credibility fast. Respect isn't about sounding powerful, it's about being congruent. When you say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," people notice if you actually follow up. When you say, "I hear you," they notice whether you really listened or were just waiting to talk. When you say, "That doesn't work for me," They notice if you later cave under pressure. The follow-through is everything. Respect doesn't come from a single statement. It comes from the pattern that statement creates. Over time, people learn that your words mean something. And when your words mean something, you don't have to fight for respect anymore. It meets you at the door. Think about the people you've admired in your life, the ones whose words carried weight. What made them command attention wasn't volume, it was intention. They chose their words carefully. They didn't fill the air with explanations or excuses. They knew when to speak and when to let silence do the work. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools of power. When you pause after speaking, when you allow your words to land, it forces people to sit with what you've said. It creates tension, and tension draws attention. People who rush to fill silence communicate insecurity. People who can sit in silence communicate authority. This doesn't mean being cold or detached. Respect isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is what allows you to read the room, adapt your tone, and understand what people need in the moment. Sometimes respect comes from strength, sometimes from empathy, sometimes from restraint. The key is discernment, knowing which one the situation calls for. You don't always have to be the loudest or the toughest. Sometimes the most commanding thing you can do is listen, take a breath, and then choose your words with precision. Let's talk about composure, because composure is the glue that holds respect together. When you lose your temper, you lose your leverage. The people who command instant respect are not the ones who never feel anger. They're the ones who know how to contain it. Control is magnetic. When others panic and you stay grounded, you instantly become the anchor. You don't have to shout to assert control. Your calm becomes the loudest thing in the room. Let's take a step back only works when it's backed by real composure. If you say it while you're still reactive, it sounds dismissive. But when you say it from calm authority, it becomes leadership. Respect grows in the space between stimulus and response. The space where you decide who you're going to be in that moment. Someone might challenge you, disrespect you, or try to provoke you. That's when you decide whether to give them power or keep your own. Commanding respect means refusing to be dragged into emotional quicksand. It means setting the tone instead of absorbing someone else's. The most powerful person in any exchange is the one who can stay centered while others lose balance. Another aspect of respect people overlook is how you treat yourself when no one's watching. The conversations you have in your head shape how you speak to others. If you constantly diminish yourself internally, telling yourself you're not ready, not good enough, not capable, your words will reflect that insecurity. But if you train your mind to respect itself, to speak with inner discipline, your outer communication naturally changes. Confidence isn't pretending, it's preparation meeting belief. When you've done the work, you don't need to prove anything. You speak with quiet certainty because you know who you are. The phrase, "here's what I need from you," is a perfect example. It only works if you've done the inner work of clarity. You can't communicate what you need if you don't know what you want. That's why self-awareness is foundational to respect. When you know your values, your limits, your goals, and your standards, you stop negotiating them for approval. You stop chasing validation. You start communicating from alignment. People sense when you're centered. They can feel that grounded certainty. And when they feel it, they respect it. Respect also lives in your tone. The tone of your voice carries emotional data. It tells people whether to trust you, fear you, dismiss you, or follow you. A calm, measured tone signals confidence. A rushed, uncertain tone signals doubt. You can say the most powerful words in the world, but if your tone wavers, the impact disappears. That's why breathing and pacing matter. Slow down your delivery. Speak from your diaphragm, not your throat. Let your words carry weight. You don't need to fill every second. Pausing before you respond gives you control. It tells others you're deliberate. Every pause communicates that you value what you're saying and that you expect them to value it too. Respect often comes from subtle signals, the ones most people ignore. Eye contact that's steady but not aggressive. Posture that's open but confident. Shoulders back, chin up, no unnecessary movements. Even how you hold your phone during a conversation communicates presence. When you're constantly glancing down, you're signaling distraction. When you stay focused, you signal importance. People take you as seriously as you take yourself. Commanding respect isn't about dominance, it's about congruence. When your body, tone, and words align, you project integrity. Integrity isn't just moral, it's energetic. It means there's no disconnect between what you say and what you do. The world has a way of testing your integrity, often when it's inconvenient. You'll be tempted to compromise your boundaries, to please others, to stay silent when you should speak. Every time you hold the line, you reinforce your self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation for external respect. Let's revisit the phrase, "that doesn't work for me." This phrase changes everything when used consistently. It's not just about saying no, it's about reinforcing your priorities. It communicates self-discipline. It tells people you don't operate from impulse, you operate from intention. Every no protects the power of your yes. The more selective you are with your energy, the more valuable your time becomes. And people respect what they can't easily access. When you say yes to everything, you dilute your presence. But when you say yes only to what aligns, you amplify your authority. Respect also requires you to manage your emotional bandwidth. You can't command respect if you're constantly drained. Boundaries are not selfish, they're essential. They protect your focus and keep your communication sharp. When you're mentally cluttered, you react. When you're clear, you respond. And responses, not reactions, earn respect. The people who command respect the fastest are not necessarily the most experienced or the loudest. They're the ones who show emotional discipline, mental clarity, and verbal precision. They don't need to convince anyone of their worth because their energy speaks before they do. They walk into a room with a sense of purpose, not performance. Respect is drawn to purpose. When you use these 5 phrases intentionally, you're not just speaking differently, you're leading differently. You're shaping how people perceive you. But more importantly, you're shaping how you perceive yourself. Because the way you talk to others reflects the way you've trained yourself to think. You start to realize that commanding respect is less about external validation and more about internal calibration. It's about standing so firmly in your values that no situation can shake you off center. And this is where most people fail. They want respect but don't want to do the internal work that makes it natural. They memorize the words but forget that tone and posture matter just as much. They say, "I hear you," but they don't actually listen. They say, "That doesn't work for me," but then apologize for saying it. They say, "Here's what I need from you," but they're unclear on what that is. They say, "Let's take a step back," but they're still emotionally charged. They say, "I don't know, but I'll find out." But they never follow through. The phrases themselves aren't enough. It's the conviction behind them that creates respect. Conviction can't be faked. It comes from repetition, from living your principles even when it's uncomfortable. It comes from doing what you said you would, from keeping promises no one else sees, from holding yourself accountable. Respect is built in private long before it's earned in public. The way you show up in the small, unseen moments determines how people respond to you in the big ones. Every time you choose restraint over reaction, clarity over confusion, truth over comfort, you strengthen your command. You begin to embody the energy that says, "I'm not here to impress. I'm here to express." I don't chase respect. I attract it through consistency. Because respect doesn't come to those who demand it. It comes to those who demonstrate it, first to themselves and then to everyone around them. Because respect doesn't come to those who demand it. It comes to those who demonstrate it, first to themselves and then to everyone around them. The way you live teaches people how to treat you. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, honesty over convenience, composure over chaos, you broadcast your standards. And standards, when consistently upheld, become the silent teachers of respect. You don't have to tell people what you expect. They learn by observing how you carry yourself. Respect is a mirror. What you project is what you reflect. If you carry yourself as though your time, words, and energy are valuable, others begin to adjust their behavior to meet that value. But if you constantly undervalue yourself, apologizing too much, over-explaining your decisions, softening your truth to make others comfortable, you teach people to do the same. Every interaction is a negotiation of perception. You're either elevating your image or diminishing it, often without realizing it. Commanding respect means being intentional about every signal you send, both verbal and nonverbal. Think of your communication like currency. Every word you spend should have purpose. The more purposeful you are, the more valuable your words become. But when you overspend, when you talk to fill silence, justify every action, or try to convince people, you devalue your voice. The most respected communicators are those who know when to stop talking. They say what matters, then they let it breathe. Their restraint creates authority. People lean in when they speak because their words carry scarcity and weight. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and people can feel it instantly. Confidence says, "I know my value." Arrogance says, "My value is greater than yours." Respect aligns with the first and recoils from the second. The people who truly command respect don't need to prove they're better than anyone else. They simply know who they are and move accordingly. They don't compare, compete, or convince. They focus on mastering themselves, not managing others' opinions. That self-possession is what others respond to. True respect also requires humility. The humility to keep learning, to stay curious, to recognize that strength doesn't mean knowing everything. It's the humility that keeps your confidence grounded. When you can say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," it's not just honesty, it's leadership. Because you're modeling the courage to be real in a world obsessed with appearances. Humility and confidence are not opposites, they're allies. Confidence without humility turns into ego. Humility without confidence turns into self-doubt. The balance of both commands the kind of respect that lasts. Another mark of respect is consistency under pressure. Anyone can sound confident when life is easy. But it's in the difficult moments, when the deal falls through, when the criticism hits, when the plan falls apart, that your composure defines you. People remember, or how you respond when things get hard. If you can stay calm and measured in those moments, your credibility multiplies. Respect is built in crisis, not comfort. When others see you maintain integrity while under fire, they begin to trust your stability. They start to believe that your word isn't conditional, it's constant. Respect thrives in clarity and dies in confusion. That's why the phrase, "Here's what I need from you," is so powerful. It cuts through the fog of assumptions. It tells people exactly where you stand and what you expect. But clarity requires courage. Courage to be direct, to risk discomfort, to prioritize truth over harmony. Most people avoid being clear because they fear confrontation. But what they don't realize is that avoidance creates resentment, and resentment erodes respect. The longer you stay unclear, the weaker your voice becomes. Directness, when delivered with composure, builds trust faster than any attempt to please. And this is where self-trust plays its part. You can't command external respect if you don't trust yourself internally. Self-trust is built through repetition, keeping your promises to yourself even when no one's watching. Every time you do what you said you'd do, your confidence grows. Every time you let yourself down, it erodes. You can't fake the energy of self-trust. People can feel it. It's in your tone, your timing, your posture. When you trust yourself, your words carry certainty. When you don't, your communication hesitates. Self-trust is the unseen backbone of presence. Presence isn't loud, it's rooted. It's the kind of quiet authority that doesn't chase the room, it anchors it. When you walk in with grounded energy, you don't need to demand attention. You command it by existing in alignment. That's why preparation is power. When you know your subject, your purpose, your position, you move differently. You speak slow, stand taller, breathe deeper. People don't respect uncertainty, they respect readiness. When you prepare, you remove hesitation. And without hesitation, your authority becomes natural. One of the hardest but most essential aspects of commanding respect is learning to be misunderstood without losing your balance. The stronger your standards, the more people will question them. The clearer your boundaries, the more some will test them. It's part of the process. You will be misunderstood, and that's okay. Respect isn't about universal agreement. It's about internal alignment. You can't earn genuine respect if you're afraid of disapproval. The people who command it understand that misunderstanding is the price of authenticity. They'd rather be respected for their truth than liked for their compliance. Every time you hold your ground with grace, you teach others how to treat you. You're showing that your worth isn't up for debate. "That doesn't work for me" becomes more than a phrase. It becomes a declaration of self-respect. You stop letting people waste your time, cross your boundaries, or pull you into chaos. And the more consistent you are, the more others learn that your standards are not negotiable. That's when respect stops being something you have to ask for. It becomes something others naturally give. But commanding respect isn't just about how you interact with others, it's also about how you respond to failure. People respect those who take responsibility instead of deflecting blame. When you make a mistake, own it. Don't disguise it, don't minimize it, and don't run from it. Accountability is strength. It tells the world that you're not afraid of truth, and that courage, more than any title or status, earns genuine respect. Everyone fails, but not everyone has the integrity to face it with composure. Respect also requires empathy. Empathy doesn't mean softness, it means awareness. It's understanding that communication isn't just about speaking your truth, but also about recognizing how it lands. You can say the right thing in the wrong tone and you'd lose respect instantly. Empathy helps you adapt your delivery without compromising your message. It allows you to connect without surrendering authority. People respect those who make them feel seen, not those who make them feel small. The ability to balance strength with understanding is what separates those who command attention from those who demand it. Control your emotions, but don't suppress them. There's a difference. Suppression builds resentment, control builds power. When you feel anger, channel it into clarity. When you feel frustration, use it to focus. Emotion, when directed, becomes energy. But when it controls you, it becomes chaos. Respect follows those who manage their emotions with precision. Emotional control doesn't mean you never react. It means you choose when and how to respond. That choice is power. Respect is also reflected in the way you recover from challenges. When life knocks you down, how quickly do you recenter? The faster you return to composure, the stronger your credibility becomes. People don't respect perfection. They respect resilience. They respect those who can face adversity without losing their integrity. When you can stand tall after setbacks, when you can keep your tone steady after disappointment, you show the world that your strength isn't situational, it's structural. And that structure is built through self-discipline. Discipline is what keeps your standards intact when emotions try to dismantle them. It's the invisible force behind every phrase that commands respect. Discipline is what makes you pause instead of react, follow through instead of procrastinate, and listen instead of interrupt. It's what allows your communication to carry consistency, and consistency is the heartbeat of respect. The truth is, respect isn't granted because of age, title, or appearance. It's granted because of behavior. People watch how you treat yourself, how you treat others, how you handle adversity, and how you use your voice. They might not articulate it, but they're constantly evaluating you. Your tone, your timing, your presence, all of it adds up to one question. Can I trust this person? Respect and trust are twins. You can't have one without the other. Trust is built when your words and actions match repeatedly. It's destroyed the moment they don't. So be careful what you promise. Be deliberate in what you commit to. And when you do commit, follow through no matter how small the task seems. People remember reliability. They respect consistency more than charisma. When you say something, mean it. When you mean it, prove it. That's how you become someone whose voice carries weight without ever needing to raise it. Commanding respect is not a single act. It's a lifelong practice. It's how you show up in the quiet moments, how you manage your reactions, how you choose your words, and how you stand in your truth when it's uncomfortable. It's the accumulation of choices that tell the world who you are, even when you don't say a word. And when your choices, tone, and actions align with strength and integrity, respect doesn't just follow, it stays. When your choices, tone, and actions align with strength and integrity, respect doesn't just follow, it stays. But keeping respect is harder than earning it. The moment people recognize your power, they begin to test it, consciously or not. They'll test your patience, your boundaries, your emotional balance, and your values. That's not because they want to destroy you. It's because they want to understand where your lines are. Every person you meet is silently asking, "How far can I go with you?" And your response teaches them exactly that. The moment you compromise your principles for comfort or approval, you lose ground. Respect leaks away quietly, not in one dramatic moment, but in small concessions that accumulate over time. That's why discipline isn't just a habit, it's a shield. It guards your values from erosion. Discipline keeps your words sharp and your boundaries clear. It's the voice in your mind that says, "Stay steady," when your emotions scream for reaction. The person who can stay consistent under pressure earns more respect than the one who only looks strong when everything is easy. Consistency is what people trust. Consistency is what makes your presence reliable. It's not perfection that earns respect, it's predictability. People respect what they can depend on. Think about how often we lose respect for someone not because of a single failure, but because of inconsistency. They say one thing and do another. They preach accountability but make excuses when they fall short. They demand professionalism but gossip behind closed doors. Respect collapses when words and actions misalign. The opposite is also true. The more your words and actions sync, the more authority you naturally project. When your behavior matches your message becomes unshakable. Respect has a rhythm. It's a steady, measured cadence of truth, control, and confidence. You can't rush it and you can't fake it. You cultivate it by mastering your presence in every interaction, every environment, every challenge. The moment you lose presence, when you start reacting instead of responding, you lose that rhythm. Presence isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about being the most aware. It's about knowing where you are, what you're saying, and why you're saying it. Awareness gives you command. When you're aware, you choose your words. When you're unaware, your words choose you. Respect also grows through emotional intelligence. Understanding what drives people, their fears, their motivations, their insecurities, allows you to navigate conflict without losing control. You don't earn respect by overpowering someone. You earn it by understanding them. When you can read what someone needs in the moment, space, acknowledgement, clarity, you can communicate with precision. Emotional intelligence is not softness, it's strategy. It's how you de-escalate without backing down. It's how you influence without dominating. Let's return to the power of listening. Listening is the purest form of respect. It signals that you value the other person's voice even if you disagree. But most people don't listen. They wait for their turn to talk. When you truly listen, you pick up the subtleties others miss. You notice tone shifts, hesitation, tension beneath the surface. Those details give you insight and advantage. Listening allows you to respond strategically instead of emotionally. The phrase, "I hear you," only works if you genuinely mean it. It's not about silence, it's about presence. Listening is control disguised as stillness. Respect also demands courage. The courage to stand alone when necessary. The courage to say no when everyone else says yes. The courage to walk away from what insults your values, even if it costs you comfort. People respect those who live by principles, not convenience. Every time you make a decision that honors your integrity, even when it's unpopular, you reinforce your credibility. The world respects conviction. It may resist it, challenge it, or even criticize it, but deep down, it respects it. Conviction doesn't need applause, it needs alignment. And alignment doesn't happen by accident, it's chosen. You choose it every time you refuse to engage in gossip, every time you decline to lower your standards to fit in, every time you respond with calm when someone expects you to react. The more you act from alignment, the less you need external validation. Your power becomes internal. You stop needing people to agree with you because you're already at peace with your truth. And when you're at peace with your truth, your presence becomes unshakable. The ability to remain grounded when emotions surge is what separates those who seek respect from those who command it. When people provoke you, they want your reaction. Your reaction feeds their control. But when you stay calm, when you choose silence over impulse, you maintain your power. The most dangerous person in the room is the one who can't be baited. Emotional control doesn't mean indifference, it means precision. You decide which emotions deserve a voice and which deserve discipline. That's what leadership looks like. Leadership and respect are inseparable. You cannot lead without earning respect, and you cannot earn respect without demonstrating leadership. Leadership isn't about authority, it's about responsibility. It's about owning your energy, managing your reactions, and guiding the tone of every interaction. When people see you handle challenges with poise, they instinctively look to you for direction. Leadership isn't a title, it's a behavior. You lead every time you bring clarity where others bring confusion, calm where others bring chaos, truth where others bring noise. Another layer of respect comes from how you handle power once you have it. Power reveals character. Some use it to dominate, others use it to uplift. People remember not how powerful you were, but how you made them feel in your presence. Respect that's based on fear is fragile. It collapses the moment your authority fades. But respect built on integrity endures because it's rooted in how you treat others. The people who command respect long-term are the ones who remember too. Dignity is never one-sided. And this brings us to one of the most overlooked aspects of commanding respect: grace. Grace under pressure, grace in success, grace in disagreement. Grace is power without arrogance. It's knowing that you don't have to crush others to stand tall. You can hold firm boundaries and still show empathy. You can disagree without hostility. Grace doesn't weaken authority, it refines it. It transforms strength into elegance. When you move with grace, you disarm defensiveness and elevate dialogue. People may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel while saying it. Grace also means forgiving quickly, but not forgetting the lesson. It's understanding that holding grudges doesn't make you strong, it makes you stuck. Respect grows when you handle conflict with maturity. When someone wrongs you, you don't need to broadcast it or seek revenge. You simply remember, adjust, and move forward. People who command respect don't waste energy on pettiness, they preserve it for purpose. That restraint communicates depth. Purpose, in fact, is the quiet engine behind respect. People sense when you have direction. You move differently when you know what you stand for. Every decision, every boundary, every phrase becomes a reflection of that purpose. Without purpose, confidence feels hollow. With it, every action has intention. Purpose gives you gravity. It makes your words and energy feel anchored. And gravity commands attention without ever asking for it. But purpose alone isn't enough. It must be paired with self-awareness. You can't project power if you don't understand what drives you, triggers you, or drains you. Self-awareness allows you to adjust without losing authenticity. It helps you see when your ego is speaking instead of your integrity. It reminds you that commanding respect isn't about being right, it's about being real. When you know your emotional landscape, you stop being controlled by it. That's when your communication becomes artful. And in every interaction, tone is your paintbrush. You can say the same words in two different tones and get two entirely different outcomes. The secret is mastering your tone before you open your mouth. A steady tone disarms tension. A confident tone anchors attention. A respectful tone invites collaboration. Your tone is what people remember long after the conversation ends. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it that commands respect. There's also a quiet kind of respect that grows in solitude, the respect you build with yourself. It's in how you talk to yourself when no one's watching. Do you hold yourself accountable or make excuses? Do you honor your commitments or delay them? Self-respect is built in the unseen hours, the workouts no one witnesses, the study sessions no one praises, the small decisions that no one claps for. Every act of private discipline becomes public confidence. People feel when you've done your work. You don't need to announce it, it's in your energy. And when your energy reflects consistency, humility, and strength, people naturally follow your lead. Respect isn't a destination, it's a reflection of your evolution. The more you grow, the more your presence deepens. The more disciplined you become, the quieter your confidence sounds. You stop needing to prove, and you start to embody. Respect becomes less about how others treat you and more about how you treat yourself. Because when your internal dialogue speaks with authority, the external world follows suit. Every phrase that commands respect. I don't know, but I'll find out. I hear you. That doesn't work for me. Let's take a step back. Here's what I need from you. Becomes a reflection of that evolution. They aren't just words anymore. They're extensions of your identity. They speak on your behalf before you even finish saying them. And the more congruent you are behind those words, the more naturally the world responds to you with the respect you've already mastered within.